6000232 on the WhatsApp line 0614104107. That's where you can send your WhatsApp voice notes and text messages. Of course, it is quite a contentious issue. Already we are seeing that some of the partners in the government of national unity are drawing up their legal papers, they say, ready to take the matter to court. And that will be the likes of the DA, Action SA, AfriForum, all of those that they believe that this is a step in the wrong direction. It could, of course, also set a new battleground for the government of national unity. How far do you think they're actually going to go with it, though? When you look at what transpired with the Bella bill, despite the dissatisfaction, the GNU still pretty much is intact. One wonders if, even the signing of the expropriation bill is going to fundamentally change anything within the expropriation bill. Within the government of national unity. Maybe they'll just take each other to court, have their legal teams fight it out, while it's business as usual within government. We'll have to see how it plays out. But which side of the fence do you sit in as far as the signing of this particular piece of legislation? What difference do you think it's going to make? Let's have that conversation in the next hour. Coming up in the second hour of the show, we are going to be focusing on higher education. In particular, we'll be dealing with the issue of student accommodation and NSFAS. This is always a huge issue. Of course, NSFAS subsidizes the accommodation of students. There are different landlords that have to come into the picture. So we're going to have this conversation in advance because we experienced such big challenges with it next year when it came to the payment of some of these rentals, how that ended up affecting students. So we're being preemptive. We'll be in conversation with the CEO of the Private Student Housing Association and also the spokesperson for the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. And then it is a Friday. So Friday means it is the Friday wind down. And this is what you can expect in the final hour of the show.
Hello SAFM listeners, I'm Ada the artist and I'll be hanging out with Cathy Mohlahlana on the Friday wind down this Friday 24th January at 11 a.m. We'll be diving deep into all things music and talking about my brand new album Heal Our Nation Volume 2, which is out now. Join us for a meaningful conversation about the healing power of music. Don't miss it. Tune in this Friday on SAFM's Talking Point. I can't wait to wind down with you.
Since Uspillion won 5,000 rand, 5 tower on Wheel of Fortune, he only wears white push-in sandals, star white, Baba, and he owns 10 identical pairs. Before he did not even know the Queen's language. Now, Kalabo, wow. Chance, let's watch Wheel of Fortune weekdays, Monday to Friday at 7:30 on S3 and see how one spin changed Spillion's life and how it can change ours as well in just one day.
Life-changing wins can happen when you play on the National Lottery. Just like the Lucky Powerball Plus winner who won over 33 million rand on Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 100 million rand jackpot this Friday and you could be next. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Every person, no matter who you are, what music you're inclined to listen to, and what you do with your weekends, you need a weekend playlist. It's that musical mix of music that accompanies the lazy weekends, whether catching up with friends and family or just taking some time to reflect. Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 on SAFM.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
All right, so let's get straight into the open line then. Let me start off in Midrand. Sintu, good morning.
Good morning, my dear sister. How are you?
Good.
Yes. Whenever you are on air, I'm likely to be on air also. But if you are not on air,
I'm starting to think there's something happening with you and Lebo, you know? I need to investigate this.
Okay. You see now, mine will be on the political will of dealing with this issue. We know that it's a contentious issue, it's a sensitive issue to all races when it comes to the expropriation of land. I'm not sure, I haven't gone through this act that has been signed. I think it's no longer a bill right now. Whether it is going to be expropriated without compensation or not, you see. And I don't think there is a political will from the side of the ruling party, you see, to expropriate land. I will take you back, Kevin. You remember when the ANC had two-thirds majority under President Thabo Mbeki. I think it was in 1999, if I'm not mistaken. You see, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. And Mbeki indicated that the ANC was not going to abuse its majority, its two-thirds majority, to change the constitution. When we had the two-thirds majority to expropriate and change the constitution to address the injustices of the past, specifically the question of the land. Again, when the Zuma took over, the EFF offered its vote to say that let's change the constitution. Again, the ANC refused because they wanted to appease the Stellenbosch mafia in relation to these matters. Now, I was listening to Advocate Nkokai Tobi to indicate that this process is going to be a very long process to address these matters because there is a lot of consultation that needs to happen. And the owners of this land, you see, will be unwilling, you see, to give the land to government without getting anything. Now, we must not be fooled by the ANC and its allies to say that we should be excited because the president has signed this act. There is no political will at all. People will still not get the land in this current form unless people rise up and indicate that they need the land, you see, for the purposes of commercial farming, whatever the issue might be. because there's no political will at all. Because the very same Section 25 of the Constitution also talks about the property right, where everyone has got the right to property. You see, these are some of the issues that needs to be addressed. There's never been any proper consultation when it comes to this issue to understand and hear what South Africans think about it. You see, I'm not sure if you get me.
And you know, Sintu, because one of the things that I've been looking at is, you know, some of those that are saying, well, actually, you know, this is a threat to property rights. And when you get into the nitty-gritty of it, it's not. You know, it doesn't fundamentally change much. It just gives the provisions that are in there just simply say that the court may actually award nil rand compensation when it comes to matters of expropriation of land. But even then, there must be justifiable cause. So it's not going to be happening at random, you know. So yeah, so some of the concerns might be slightly misplaced, because certainly the expropriation bill that has been signed into law today is not the draft bill that was debated in Parliament and supported by the likes of the EFF and others, right? You know, it has changed very fundamentally from what that process started off as being.
Yeah, yes, just lastly, because if what has been reported on the social media is true, I think there is this DA minister, I think the one who have been with criminal cases still pending. If I'm not mistaken, is it
McPherson? Yes.
Yes. I think there's a report that says that he's saying that under his dead body, you see.
Look, the thing is, he's the minister in the department that would have to enforce
that would have to deal with this issue. But I'm just happy to hear what the African National Congress is going to say, especially the president. Because if the president has signed this issue, I think everybody must follow. But thanks for taking my call.
Okay, all right, Sintu, let's leave it there.
Thank you very much.
Let's leave it there. Ngaba in Johannesburg, good morning. Good morning, Ngaba.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can now.
I'm sorry about that. I'm on the road, but if I cut, you can just move on to the next caller. I beg your pardon for that. May I just say this on the land question? There are two things I want to focus on. First of all, and I think the gentleman alludes to it in his submissions to you earlier, I was once in a room with former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke, and he recalled in the question of land that it is not the priority certainly of the ANC or of the government, because in the time that he was at the Constitutional Court, he says, his words, there wasn't a single application brought to test this expropriation of land provision of the Constitution per Section 25. In other words, the priority or interest or whatever you will call it of the government hitherto to expropriate land without compensation. And if you recall, twice before the ANC agreed to this thing, the EFF raised the motion of expropriation of land without compensation. I go on to say then it is not within the DA of the ANC, certainly, to expropriate land without compensation.
Yeah.
But even then, it could have done so without this particular bill, because the reading of Section 25 does not preclude that from happening. In fact, it has been happening from time to time. If the government wants to build the N2 and it has to go through certain houses, that, in reality, is expropriation of land. Sure, with compensation, but the question of expropriation of land is not altogether foreign, not altogether unexecutable. Even in the current reading of the Constitution, this instrument doesn't give any more weight and force than has been in existence. But more importantly, and to my point, final contribution, the conversation really ought to have been about decentralization as opposed to urbanization. If the government had paid priority to rural development, the tensions about which we are engaging would be, I submit, far less than they are now. If people were put in a position where they are, to be able to communicate, to be able to commute, to be able to go to work. So I come from rural Eastern Cape, Whittlesea. Lennox Sebe, the former Siskine government leader, president, call him what you will, had projects on agriculture, had projects in the textile sectors. People did not have to leave home to access work. And by contribution, or rather by extension, they were not spending 40% of their wages on transport. So if we could have a conversation about, has South Africa's rural landscape changed and developed and brought them to that extent possible into the mainstream through ICT, through road infrastructure, and the industrialization projects of the government, this conversation would not nearly be as heated as it currently is, and certainly not be as political as it should.
All right, Ngaba, thanks for calling in and making that contribution. In fact, I think I recall part of what the former judge Moseneke said. It was about 2 years ago. And he basically, summed it up as the debate being really a red herring, being political more than anything, because of the lack of actual will based on the track record, not anything else, based on the track record of the cases that had actually come before the courts, where the expropriation bill under Section 25 was tested to its full limits. And I guess, as Ngaba was saying, is this just a case of us going around in circles looking or seeming to be doing something when in fact we're doing nothing at all? Temba, you're in Heidelberg. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, Cathy?
Yes, Temba, go for it.
Yes, Cathy. Without justifying, Ramaphosa, the president of Total National, that's my view. The man who is not just a president, but who is a lawyer. And not just a lawyer, but the man who was entrusted with the task by the former president Nelson Mandela to be at the helm of the drawing of the Constitution, including this very passage of the Section 25 track. So now what crosses my mind is why now? Why now? So the answer that, in fact, let me call it the fallacious answer that comes on top of my head is that the reason why now it is because Mukwanazi is giving his countrymen a hard time in KZN. Even Action SA is giving his countrymen a hard time in Pretoria. So now he's trying his level best to find his countrymen any alternative place to live so that they won't be best treated. Thank you so much, Katie. That's my view. That's my fallacious view, by the way.
Okay, all right. Temba out in Heidelberg. Let's leave it there. I'm still taking your calls. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. It's the National Roundtable. And, of course, an opportunity for you to raise matters of national interest on the open line. It's 9:30, your latest headlines.
Good morning. In the headlines, the Amatole district in the Eastern Cape has been declared a disaster area following thunderstorms that ravaged communities in the district from December into January. The Umkhonto weSizwe Party has appointed Advocate Dalimpofu as the chairperson of the National Disciplinary Committee. The party has further appointed Deputy President Dr. John Hlophe as the chairperson of the Appeal Committee. And the construction sector says the impending closure of ArcelorMittal's long steel production is starting to negatively affect its operations. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
With Ford's Blue Sky offers, get a new Ranger XL from just $5,899 per month, including our optional service plan. 10% deposit, prime list 4.75%, 40% residual. Visit your trusted Ford dealer today for Blue Sky offers, where our Ford family guarantee comes standard. Limited time offer while stocks last. T&Cs apply.
compliments for 2025, Mangani. Call me Mabel Goals because I'm coming for it all this year. Body, relationship, and financial goals. With my Just Invest account, financially I'm cruising. 2 more to go. You know any available Prince Charming voice man?
I've got you, Mabel. Sorry. Mara, you can also be like Mabel and earn up to 8.25% in interest to start the year right. Open yours via the Money app today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Promo rates apply. Go to nedbank.co.za for more information.
Hi, I'm Zycard. Catch me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Spotlight as we bring you blow-by-blow sporting action, news. That's Spotlight every Saturday. You don't want to miss it.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
Morning, Ausketi. This is T from Ekurhuleni. Yesterday I was listening to SAFM as always. Wow, one topic touched me is the one of our correctional facilities, formerly known as our prisons. Wow, the government is paying 500 rand for each and every prisoner per day. Like when you times that 500 by 31, it gives you 15,500. By 30, it gives you 15,000. 30 days, 31 days. So now they are paying people that break the law more than the grant of the old people, disabled people, unemployed people. South African government is really a shame, really a disgrace. You know, they're paying criminals.
Good morning, Ausketi, and compliment. The expropriation bill is misleading, Ausketi. It's not going to resolve the land question in this country. We need a new bill that is going to resolve and address the land issues and the land question in the country. Limpopo. Thank you, Cathy.
Hi, Cathy. Good morning, Mafuta. Cathy, I am asking myself, what does the world say when Donald Trump's administration is pulling out of the COP29 climate agreement, whilst we have got 200-something million children who have been unable to go to school because of adverse weather conditions? Right, Cathy. The other thing I'm worried about is the forgotten war in Sudan. Cathy, what is the African Union saying about that war, that conflict in Sudan, Cathy?
Good morning, Katie, and your producer and all the listeners of SAFM. Katie, I like to say this straight to the Minister of Police and the Mr. President as well. Can you please organize the police to protect the teachers and the students, the whole school of South Africa, because it's not safe. If now the criminal can be able to enter inside the school premises and kill the principal, like I'm talking regard the case of that is happening yesterday in Dryfontein School. This thing is very painful. Those people, they don't think they should during in front of the school student. This thing is very painful, like seriously. The government must lift up the socks. This thing is not good. Thank you, Sia from Cape Town.
Yeah, Sia. Schools, courts, there are no places that are off bars, right? There are no places that criminals look at in this country and they consider too sacred to commit some of their most heinous crimes. Let me go to Limpopo. Anonymous, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy,
Yes.
your producers, and all the listeners. As I want to talk about the issue yesterday when we were talking about that criminals in the correctional services are being given per day a meal of 500 rand. I'm just thinking, and I feel that this is a good thing that we did not know about. I personally feel that our government then can be able to give all of us, the law-abiding citizens of South Africa, 500 rand per day. I was listening to that lady carefully. She's saying it is a must. The Constitution is forcing them to give those people good nutrition. What about all of us, law-abiding citizens? I just want to know, who can you invite so that they can clear this issue? Is the nutritional value needed only for criminals, or are all of us in South Africa supposed to have good nutrition? So it shows very clearly that our government knows the right thing and they are not doing it. And where are all those people who are fighting for human rights to fight for us to say we all deserve 500 rand a meal per day per individual? You know, this is something good that is coming up. If they can give us that money per day just to have good nutritional meal, it will be a good thing for South Africa. I think we will not talk about poverty.
So
and the issue of poverty is gone.
Look, Anonymous, that line to you isn't great, but you know, if we're to think about it maybe slightly differently, are there ways in which government can and should be reducing its input costs when it comes to the services that it's supposed to provide, including for inmates, right? Because all of that money, in as much as in one way or another, will come out of the taxpayer's pocket, surely now is a time where we should be sitting and thinking about, well, how do you reduce that cost of 450 Rand a day if it's all going into meals? What are the alternatives in terms of providing cheaper meals? What about also the production of those goods that are used for these meals? Should those not fundamentally, shouldn't they be a percentage, 70%, 80% of it produced by the inmates themselves?
Cathy, my thinking is that when in South Africa we say there's no money, it means there is money. I don't believe there's no money. It means there's money. If we can do this for the criminals, just imagine a criminal is getting 450 per day, but somebody is being given 350 per month to say it is whatever they call it, per month. That is a big difference. 350 per month, they say you live with 350 rand, but somebody who has done very wrong. Look, some people, we're talking about a person who was shot yesterday. As that person, if he gets arrested or she gets arrested, immediately in prison, the person is getting a good meal. Can we get maybe the analyst who will come and just clarify for us?
Okay.
My proposal still stands. Then the means of giving us, all of us, especially the law-abiding citizens.
Anonymous, you know, that line to you is unfortunately just deteriorating. We're going to have to leave it there. Apologies for that. But yeah, you've made the point, right? And it really is around just the overall figures that government spends when it comes to having to house inmates in the country's prisons, and how much that is costing per inmate per month for the duration of their sentence. Look, on the one hand, it's not a cost or a responsibility that government can absolve itself of, but Anonymous does raise a pretty good point. In a country with such high inequality levels, what then? How do you determine what is morally justifiable? Law-abiding citizens going to bed hungry, and those that have committed crimes, terrorized their streets, having a much bigger budget expenditure on their livelihoods than the ordinary man in the street. Ephraim, you're in Alex. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and all the listeners and all the e-hailers and SAFM. It's I manage to drink water so that I can be cool and okay to talk. Cathy, we as e-hailers, we've been suffering for many years, and it's been too long and too far what we're going through. Yesterday, we tried to make awareness and try to protest against this impoundment that is happening in Tshwane by the EMPD. Ordered by MMC Councillor Cathy Mohlahlana. We try to comply to make sure that all the necessary documents are in order. But now, if we're trying to knock at the offices of these MMCs and the mini and the NEC, there's no help. And then thereafter, they issue the statement to the law enforcement to impound our cars. It's painful. We are afraid of criminals. We are afraid of extortion from the meter taxi. We are afraid of extortion from the taxis. Then again is the law enforcement. Where are we going, Katie? Where in this country e-hailers can have the freedom of working and all these things? Yesterday, the strike supposed to go to the mayor. The mayor agreed in the morning, one of our leaders, that she'll be accept the memorandum. Arrival in 1 hour, 2 hours. She's nowhere to be found. Look at the disrespect we get from these people, as they say they're public servants. And then, therefore, she called the MMC to come and take the memorandum. The same MMC that she's always trying to make things happen, but we don't see what she's doing because she's just running around contesting, don't know what she's doing. She's not even informed.
So, Ephraim, sorry to come in there, but what would you say is the challenge, the biggest challenge that you are facing now as an e-hailing driver?
The challenge we are facing is this permit that they say we need to apply and we don't get it. And they say MEC of Transport, she says they have a backlog. The backlog that they have in more than 2 years, is it worth it? In the last 2 years, it's 21,000 permits. The applicants, they received 21,000 appliances in Gauteng. Only 9,000 have been received the permits. Now, if you tell me that you are an MEC of transport, you have a backlog for 2 years, you're getting salary every month, but there are people who need to comply. They don't have that document that you say they must have. And you issue the Gauteng Metropolis to go at the OR Tambo International Airport to impound the cars. What is that? What is that, Kate? We need to be realistic and do things proper. She should do better. If she can't handle this situation, why can't she go to the minister or the president, ask for the help of this matter? 2 years. We can't have lived like this. Now, we can't go to Tswane from Joburg or other regions to deliver clients from the SAE hailers because the EMPD, whatever you drive there, is a Corolla or idea. They stop you, they impound you. We start a client. So this is the harassment we're getting from the EMPD and the Gauteng Metropolis. These people, they must come down and fix this mess of them. Or else they must sacrifice their salaries and fix whatever backlog they are talking about that they can't even offer to the client as a transport operator.
Oh,
this is painful.
Yeah, Ephraim, I can hear your frustration. I can hear your frustration, and of course, it has to do directly with your livelihood, right? And your ability to transport passengers on a day-to-day basis. I think that's an issue that we can try and follow up on as well to find out just what the issue is. And also, if you're in Pretoria, people travel between the cities all the time, between Johannesburg and Tshwane all the time. So how Hello, Warren? Okay, it also looks like we've lost Warren. Let me see if I'm going to be a third time lucky. Okay, it looks like just our lines have gone down. So, all of the listeners that have been on the line, we seem to have lost all of you. We'll try to get you back up on the line. Of course, this is the National Roundtable, taking your calls on matters of national interest. And the lines, of course, the number to dial for our studio line, 086 000 2032, on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Let's take some of your WhatsApp voice notes while we get our listeners back on the line.
A very good morning to you, Cathy, and your lovely crew. To me, the fact that the DA, the AfriForum, and Action SA are preparing their papers to challenge the signing of the expropriation bill into act to court shows clearly that they shouldn't be there in the GNU because they are self-interest bourgeoisies. I thank you. Patrick Olo Emondi.
Hi, Cathy. It's Chris in Pietermaritzburg. You know, the current expropriation bill that everyone seems to be heralding is not what exactly it is made out to be. It does not address land injustice of many centuries ago. We need a thorough-going law, but also a thorough-going process for land transformation. Again, without a very clear plan of how do we going to use the land productively, it's just going to be a symbolic exercise. This is time for action, not just for words and signings and ceremonies and so on. People's life needs to be changed on a daily basis, and that is what is needed.
Morning, Cathy and SFM listeners. This bill that the president has signed into law is long overdue. He could have done this long ago. They didn't care because the ANC was faring well with the votes. Now, because the votes are gone, the Titanic is sinking. Now, this, I see it as a campaigning item. Anonymous.
Abafana Bestende are pumped up to get to the round of 16, but the Chili Boys believe they will display a happy walk after the final whistle. This is the Nedbank Cup round of 32. Golden Arrows FC versus Chipa United FC on Saturday, 25 January at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Life-changing wins can happen when you play on the National Lottery. Just like the lucky Powerball Plus winner who won over 33 million rand on Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 100 million rand jackpot this Friday and you could be next. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue with the open line. I see we've gotten our listeners back on the line. Cyril in Kokstad, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning.
Yes, apologies for that.
Yeah, no problem. Eventually, this expropriation bill became now an active science. Now, open lines for national interest. What I'm observing here is that, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the government wants to redress the wrongs of the past, the inequality of land ownership from the minority, which is most of the land is in minority lands. And I know this land issue is a very sensitive issue. Yes, it's sensitive for them, for their descendants. I'm talking about the minority. The descendants will say they didn't know what happened in the past. Yes, they got a right to say that. We in the majority also got a right that land was taken from our forefathers, and they went into exile and all that to fight for this freedom and these laws to be changed. But let's get to the laws. Now, the expropriation, my understanding is to address that willing buyer, willing seller, which was a hurdle in the Constitution. Now it's going to fast-track that. It's expropriation. But let's look at all the acts that contribute to the inequality. Like I'll name one of them, this expropriation, and also the land reform. But more so in the land reform, we know about the three pillars: restitution, redistribution, and land and tenure. Now, restitution, that's the one. Now, I'm not talking because I just want to talk on Radio SCFM. I'm a Griqua in Coxon. Griqua land is on the map, it's in the deeds office, and it's part of KwaZulu-Natal now. It wasn't then, but it doesn't matter which province it's in. But KwaZulu-Natal also got its own ownership, you see. And when the thing is addressed, I hear you are saying addressed to the majority. Now, the colored Indian and the black are in black, but there's a majority in black. So one would like to know, when the government sat there with these lawmakers, did they sit down and say, we're going to bring another act in to fast-track this inequality, but we want solutions, and these are our solutions, the outcome of them. That it won't be that to black, but to majority black only. So let's get to a point of critical interest.
Yeah.
The Restitution Act is there.
And Cyril, I think you make a very good point. That within the advancement for expropriation holistically, there has to be a attention paid to the nuances in different areas and how that affects populations in those areas. I think that's what you're saying.
Exactly. We know, and I'm not going to that as a topic for another day. The topic has been coming over and over up of the Ngonyama Trust and so on, and KwaZulu-Natal and so on, the ownership. But here's the thing. As I say, Griqua land is part of KwaZulu-Natal. It is quite a lot of land for the Griqua, per se, for a person that doesn't know. But when you look at the land of KwaZulu-Natal, it's an open ocean. And government can't address that. Now let's get to this addressing. Why is the government acting the willing power to drive the restitution? I know there's a redistribution, but again, as I'm saying, restitution should take priority. Because if we expropriate now, and we know election time now, government will expropriate, perhaps they will start with land that belongs to government, which won't affect private people. They will address there where private people own more than 2 or 3 farms or where it's lying dormant. But government got vast tract of land that belongs to government. You see, we say can expropriate, and should have expropriated a long time.
Yeah.
Even before this act.
Yeah.
So what happens now? They're going to expropriate this. Now we must ask, where is this land going to go to? Is it going to go to urban people? When I'm saying urban, there's urban and rural. Urban are people that are individual, which can come up in numbers. But that numbers must go with the size of the land. In other words, what I'm trying to say, there can be millions of people that will be accommodated houses from the human settlement. But does it abide the ownership, the ownership of land in overall? Or should we go now to the rural area where the farmers, the white farmers, and we know, we don't want to hide that, the white farmers, we do a stat, you will see how much land they own. Now, that land, we're also going to be careful for food security.
Okay.
Security,
Cyril,
yes,
okay. I'm going to pause you there because I think you've said a mouthful and you've made your point in terms of some of the critical issues that you would want to see addressed. Warren, you're in the Eastern Cape. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very, very much, guys, for getting back to me. The main reason that I'm phoning, and excuse me, I've had an operation on my mouth, my lip, is that Gwede Mantashe was on the radio. In fact, yours on the 9 o'clock news bulletin. And I'd like you to play this back to yourselves, maybe over. He was on about the amount of money South Africa is losing to illegal mining operations. This is what sparked my interest in phoning you. Can you hear me?
Yes. I know what you're talking about, Warren. Billions of rand, he put it. I think it was 60-something billion that he says is lost to illegal mining.
No, that's what he says. Let him prove it. That's the first thing. Let him prove it. To come on radio and give exact proof. This mine, these people, etc. Not blow steam off like he blows steam off. Okay. That's the first challenge to Mr. Mantashe. Come on radio, your program specifically, and tell us, give us the public okay, please, where he gets the information and exactly what is happening, because he's supposed to know. He's just given a big cloud. Secondly, and I'm going around now and I'm sitting, I've got in a back room, I'm on Google. The ratio of rock to gold in South Africa can vary depending on the location, but it is generally around 1 kilo of gold per metric ton of rock. But, and here's a rider that I have to give. There is a book, and people should get it. It's called The Story of Earth and Life. It was written by two very respected geologists, Terry McCarthy and Bruce Rubidge, Rubidg, and Terence McCarthy. And it explains, and I'm looking at page 102, where the gold is in South Africa. It's a phenomenon that people are still trying to find out. Look at the Vredefort Dome, and that's one of your answers, okay? One of your answers, the Vredefort Dome, why and what happened there, because it shows you. And then a little interesting thing here that I picked up in this book, and it says quite specifically here, I'm going to read, okay? Towards the end of the period of sedimentation,
Warren, I hope you're not reading a long extract. No, you must keep it short.
No. Very quickly. In certain areas, Klaasdorp, Stoffentin, right? Gold became within a certain area of the rock, and you have to look, it's like in veins, in a vein. How are these zomazomas, specifically in Stoffentin, getting to this rock? Bearing in mind, you've been told, there's no electricity downstairs there, in the tunnels, no electricity. We understand that. No fresh air. The equipment, what have they got? Picks and shovels, picks. You know? And lighting. How do they see? So I think a lot of this has been smudged. There was a lot of zomazomas around Joburg, you remember, West Rand. Okay, old disused mine shafts that they could walk into. Slopes, slanted ones.
Okay.
Not 2 kilometers down.
Okay, Warren, I'm going to leave it there with you in the Eastern Cape. Getting quite involved, as you heard there, on this issue of... I love our listeners. I really, really, really do. But the point that Warren is asking is, that, is it true that South Africa could really be losing billions of rand to the tune of what the Minister Gwede Mantashe is saying, if in fact we know just how difficult it is to mine rock underground, and where then would he be getting these figures from? That is to sum up what Warren was saying, in case you missed part of it. Okay, it's 10 o'clock, time for the latest news.
In our top stories, Amatole district declared a disaster area and construction sector impacted by ArcelorMittal's announcement. Good morning. The Amatole district in the Eastern Cape has been declared a disaster area following thunderstorms that ravaged communities in the district from December into January. At least 59 villages were affected and extensive damage was caused to homes, roads and infrastructure. The spokesperson for the district municipality, Sisa Msiwa, says the damage is estimated to amount to more than 57 million rand.
In Mushwa alone, 148 families were left homeless and 83 households were also completely destroyed in other local municipalities, namely Amahlati, Mbasha and Mnuma. Basic services were also disrupted during this time. In response, ADM has been working hand in hand with humanitarian organizations like the Red Cross, Gift of the Givers, as well as Alimdad, along with government departments to provide relief.
The Mkhonto weSizwe Party has appointed Advocate Dalimpofu as the chairperson of the National Disciplinary Committee. The party has further appointed Deputy President Dr. John Hlophe as the chairperson of the Appeal Committee. The announcement was made at a press briefing by the party Secretary General Floyd Shivambu in Johannesburg yesterday.
The national officials of Mkhonto weSizwe have also resolved to appoint Advocate Dalimpofu as the chairperson of the National Disciplinary Committee and have elevated the chairperson of the National Disciplinary Committee to be the national chairperson of the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeals. That is our Deputy President, Dr. John Mandlakaise Hlophe. So he is going to chair the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeals, with Advocate Dalimpofu chairs the National Disciplinary Committee.
Traditional Affairs Minister Velinkusini Hlabisa has committed to deploy more resources in the Eastern Cape to prevent the death of initiates in the province. Hlabisa made the commitment during a meeting with the provincial traditional leaders in East London to find ways to curb the alarming deaths of initiates in the province. More than 370 in the Eastern Cape have lost their lives while undergoing the traditional male circumcision since 2016. During the previous summer initiation season, a total of 28 deaths were recorded. Hlabisa says they will have further discussions on matters relating to traditional male circumcision in the province next month.
The government must consider the provision of resources so that monitoring can be effective. The headmen and headwomen, who are many in number, are not playing much role in monitoring because the resources are very limited. So now this is one point we will be taking away at the level of government in all spheres to see how do we maximize the resources in order to make the monitoring to be effective and go to zero death during the winter season.
The construction sector says the impending closure of ArcelorMittal's long steel production is starting to negatively affect its operations. Master Builders, a business formation group representing over 4,000 companies in the construction industry, says steel prices have started to soar as shortages persist. ArcelorMittal announced plans to shut down its long steel operations in Newcastle and Vereeniging, a move expected to result in 3,500 job losses. Master Builder President Sam Ngongo explains.
With ArcelorMittal sort of disappearing from the country, that means that, there are still a few small companies that are there in the country. They've already started pushing their prices very, very high because now the demand is becoming so big to them. Previously, there was ArcelorMittal. Now all these demands are coming to them. So they are pushing the prices up, and the length of time for deliveries of supplies means that the construction work is also affected by delays.
Further afield, and finally, firefighters are continuing to battle 3 new wildfires that erupted in and around Los Angeles over the past days, fanned by strong winds. Officials say containment efforts appear to be working largely thanks to the extra firefighting resources that have been brought into the region since the first fires broke out at the start of the month. California's Deputy State Fire Marshal, Bryce Bennett.
Crews have been on the fire lines for over 2 weeks now. The damage is just so astonishing. It's demoralizing to firefighters because we don't like to lose. And Mother Nature just hasn't given the Los Angeles area a break. It's just absolutely unheard of to have so many Santa Ana wind events, let alone what the National Weather Service here calls a particularly dangerous situation where we see humidities in the single digit.
Recapping the top story, the Amatole district in the Eastern Cape has been declared a disaster area following thunderstorms that ravaged communities in the district from December into January. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll get a fantastic price for your car. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
Ever since Uspilion won 5,000 rand, 5 tower on Wheel of Fortune, he only wears white push-in sandals. Star white, Baba. And he owns 10 identical pairs. And before he did not even know the Queen's language. Now, Kalabo, wow. Chance, let's watch Wheel of Fortune weekdays, Monday to Friday at 7:30 on S3 and see how one spin changed Spillion's life and how it can change ours as well in just one day.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Seven after 10 o'clock, welcome to the second hour of the show. Coming up in this hour, we're focusing on NSFAS and student accommodation. What does that particular sector of the market look like? And also dealing, of course, with some of the issues that often come up this time of the year, as thousands of students across the country try and find accommodation close to their institutions of higher learning, but also what are the lessons that have been learned from previous years, especially when it comes to the issue of rentals and landlords. Some of that, of course, subsidized by NSFAS. Is it better facilitated than what we have seen previously, which has left some students, really displaced and not having a place to stay, not having a roof over their shoulders, a roof over their heads, not their shoulders, a roof over their heads. So coming up in this hour, we'll be in conversation with the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. A change of guests will now be joined by the administrator of NSFAS, Freeman Nomvalo, and we'll also then be in conversation with the CEO of the Private Student Housing Association. Before we get to that, just a recap of some of the voice notes that you've been sending through to the show from the open line.
Good morning, Cathy. You're speaking to Norman Matula from Bushback Ridge, truck driver. Cathy, I was reading this morning about Botswana, saying that Botswana is no longer issuing work permits for teachers and truck drivers, so that, those vacancies can be protected or can be reserved for the Botswana citizens. I mean, can't the South African government do the same? How many teachers are unemployed? How many teachers do we have from outside the country? A lot. The less said about the truck driving, job, the better, because it's a different story. So I think maybe we must learn a thing or two in what Botswana have done, Thank you very much.
Hi, Cathy. Craig in KZN. I just want to clear something up. Prisoners don't get 450 Rand towards food. That goes towards the payments of warders, psychological services, food, obviously, education, stuff like that, we just need to clarify that. I see a lot of people think that prisoners actually receive that money in the way of food and stuff. Not true. There's toiletries, there's staff, there's a lot of places that money goes to. Craig in KZN.
Good morning, Cathy, and all the SAFM listeners. This is Incognito in KZN. I'd like to talk about something slightly different. This morning I saw something beautiful in the night sky at around 3:45 in the morning. When I woke up, I thought I had overslept. When I looked at the skies, my goodness, I saw 21 stars or satellites in a straight parade traveling southeasterly. My goodness. I don't know whether they were low Earth orbiting satellites or stars, because they say that on the 25th of this month, which is tomorrow, the planets will align. When I saw those stars, because they were just shining, What a beautiful parade. Thank you, Cathy.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. It's Mpoye from Flare. Sis Cathy, with regards to this appropriation bill, my question is around, not the question to say, I'd like us to look at it, what it means to land that was allocated for people in urban areas, people who are not occupying that land, and houses which were allocated, RTP houses, which were allocated to people who abandon those houses. They end up becoming, being occupied by criminals, and criminal activities take place in those houses. What does it mean? We cannot always take the negative angle at looking at things. We should also look at the brighter side. What does it mean? It means that the government now can repossess that property and use it for the benefit of those who need it. Thank you.
I feel great. I feel nice.
Osha, what's the goal? We're coiling on the highest, the summer level. What are we? Generations the legacy. Kabisi's Koko for Kumo's side eye. That quasha of the drama context. It's churchy Christmas vibes. It's the core on SABC Plus. Don't miss Generations the Legacy at 8 weekdays on SABC 1. Mzansi for sure.
Life-changing wins can happen when you play on the National Lottery. Just like the Lucky Powerball Plus winner who won over 33 million rand on Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 100 million rand jackpot this Friday and you could be next. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Well, as the academic year for institutions of high learning is set to kick off, the Private Student Housing Association is pleading with the National Student Financial Aid Scheme to pay some of the outstanding rental fees. This is to avoid potential disruptions when it comes to housing students. Of course, we've seen some challenges in the past where landlords were not given their fees, which of course threatened then the students and their ability to be accommodated. Joining us for this conversation this morning is Kagiso Mamabolo, who is the CEO of the Private Student Housing Association. He joins me in studio. Kagiso, good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming today.
Good morning, Cathy, and compliments of the new year.
Freeman Nomvalo is the administrator at the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Freeman, good morning, and thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your listeners. Compliments of the new year.
The last time, Mr. Nomvalo, that we had you on the show, we of course were dealing with this very issue of student accommodation and some of the challenges that NSFAS had faced when it comes to paying landlords. It had resulted in some students being kicked out of properties, landlords who said their own properties were under threat because they simply had not been able to keep up with payments. And you, of course, had been intervening in the matter to understand why it is that the institution had not paid these landlords in the first place, but also how then to prevent such disruptions in future. Where would you say that we are with the process now in terms of the backlog of payments? Has that been cleared? Coming into the new year, maybe not the new financial year, but absolutely coming into a new year and a new school term, would you say that all landlords that were owed monies by NSFAS have now been paid?
Well, Cathy, the answer to that question is in the need for us to talk today. I would be lying when I say all landlords because you've got Kagiso here saying his landlords have not been paid. So that statement would be lie. But the progress that has been made is huge. during last year, when this issue was really hot, almost everywhere in the country, you had threat of evictions of students from properties. But however, there are still issues that are outstanding, and I'm going to explain the context that brings that into equation, not as an excuse, but as a way of understanding what could result in a situation where a landlord has not been paid. NSFAS pays for accommodation through three mechanisms mainly. One, when we pay the universities, we pay their accommodation as well, but we also, through universities, in some instances, pay private accommodation landlords, either those that have been leased by the university or are contracted through the university. We've got direct the service providers that are assisting us in the student accommodation space. They also pay the accommodation at the other end, as well as some are paid through the students. So in that picture, you see there's an additional step in between before the money reaches the landlord. And we picked up towards the end of last year that in some instances you find that we believe the landlord has been paid, only to find that the money is sitting at the university or the money is sitting with the director, the service provider. I'm just the name is escaping me that we are using, but the service provider that we are using, or the student has not paid, as in the case that was happening in one TVET college, for instance, in case that and other TVET colleges that is happening. So that picture puts you in a situation in which is self-inflicted. Again, I must emphasize that. Self-inflicted, because that's our process as NSFAS. Puts us in a position where even when we believe that everybody has been paid, sometimes somebody comes along and say they have not been paid. So that is really the picture.
Kagiso, let me bring you in. Mr. Nomvalo says a lot of progress has been made. They may not be where they want to be yet, but certainly dealing with the backlog and some of the challenges that has been facing landlords, he believes that they've made significant strides. Your point of view or your experience as an organization that is specifically dealing with these issues on a day-to-day basis?
Thank you very much, Cathy. And I must start by saying that I appreciate Mr. Nomvalo's admission that most of the problems at the National Student Financial Aid Scheme are self-inflicted. And him being the administrator, he's got the responsibility of turning the organization 360 and in a very limited time. And as a result, we are able to hold him accountable. We are able to assist him as well to improve the system. And with regard to the improvement, I can talk as far as the student accommodation is concerned, and the experience that my members, who are the landlord, are experiencing. That space has not been improved at all. We are still theorizing. There are ideas. There was a pilot which was introduced in 2024 as part of NSFAS trying to centralize the management of student accommodation, which they've introduced in 2023. The reason why I'm saying we are in a much darker space that we were before NSFAS took management of student student accommodation is because, Cathy, our rate dropped by nearly 20% in 2023 when NSFAS introduced this. On top of that, there were new administrative levies which NSFAS introduced. So if you want to put your bed on the NSFAS system, you must pay 100 Rand per bed. And if you are paid an invoice by NSFAS, they automatically deduct 5% on that. So already you've got a rate that dropped in 2023. You've got administrative levies that NSFAS is introducing. You've got late payment of the very same bill, like this 44 million that we've been talking about. We did not charge interest. Our members did not charge interest. They are only getting paid now. And when they are getting paid now, NSFAS is still going to minus the 5%, even though they do not administer it well. Then there's an issue of accreditation and grading, which created the biggest confusion, Cathy. Universities used to accredit and grade. They had their own fair share of challenges, which I accept that universities were not saints in this process. But at least we knew if you were accredited by the university, if the university gave you the students, you were guaranteed that the university will pay you, even if NSFAS has not paid the university. The problem we're faced here is that now the whole accommodation system is being centralized. And hence NSFAS has got 3 payment mechanisms. As to why is it not one mechanism, it's a challenge. So I think with all the good things that the administrator has done, meeting us, meeting accommodation providers, and engaging us in finding lasting solution, we can admit that he made stride in other areas. But in as far as accommodation management, there's still a lot to do, and this impact directly on the students.
What about the challenges that the sector has been facing, do you think, has made it particularly difficult for there to be anything substantive that you can point to today where you can say there has been progress? I mean, part of how you describe it is to say that there's still a lot of theorizing around the problems. That so help us understand why it is that despite the efforts that are being made, there is no tangible change. Where are the stumbling blocks or the hurdles administratively, systemically, that are making sure that nothing fundamentally is changing?
The service providers that NSFAS appointed to build the student accommodation portal, there are 4. And these companies came with 4 different systems that are not the same. So if one service provider is managing accommodation of NSFAS in Limpopo, and the other one is managing the accommodation in Cape Town, as a accommodation provider, I go through different experiences. We know this as PSHA because our members have got beds nationwide. So one big challenge, and talks to what that administrator said, these companies were appointed to build the system and accredit beds. They were not appointed to disburse money, right? So they were, when the administrator came, they started disbursing money. The biggest challenge now is that our accommodation providers are caught between NSFAS and these accommodation providers. Accommodation providers are telling us, NSFAS told us not to pay you. And then when we go to NSFAS, NSFAS says, no, we told them to pay you. So that's one issue. Another issue is contracting, Cathy. NSFAS, I don't think they planned this taking over carefully, because previously we used to contract with the student. Like any letting agency, we would ensure that tenants contract before they take occupation. As we stand, we're still ironing out that agreement as to how do we contract, how do we let the students into our residences without us finalizing the contract. And as it stands, we contract with NSFAS, which means there's a VAT implication on that, which is much higher than when we were contracting with the students. The other issue here is that NSFAS is asking us to pay unlimited services to students, unlimited Wi-Fi, unlimited water, even though municipal rates increases, unlimited security, which is 24 hours. We even take from that small portion of rate and pay accommodation to transport the transport to move the students from the residences on campus. That is another systematic issue. The worst part of them, and maybe let me just say, what is the good thing before I go to the worst? At TUT, for example, the NSFAS introduced the system as a pilot in 2024. Our members are happy. Why they are happy? They were paid on time. They That's why we were happy. But down the line, NSFAS stopped paying. We want to be paid on time. We would like this system to be thought carefully. Before NSFAS can charge us 5%, before they can introduce new things, let them pilot it and not charge us on that. Then we will accept it. The other systematic issue here, Cathy, is that NSFAS does not pay January and December month. And early this month, we received a communication from NSFAS having the nerve to request us to accommodate students for free for the month of January while they are doing registration. Why is NSFAS not planning for this? Because they know it's year on year on. And they know they are delayed in our payments. So we are caught between a hard place and a rock, because when students come, we don't allow them in. They will hold us ransom and think we are bad people. NSFAS does not pay for damages in our residences. When students leave, we paint and we prepare for the next. NSFAS does not pay that. So already we are dealing with a limited rent, and even now we don't know what rent it is that NSFAS is going to give us for 2025. So the issues are huge, and private student accommodation providers, they contribute to the economy. They are part of the ecosystem of higher education. And I can wrap by saying, Cathy, our members alone have 80,000 beds, and we contributed more than 20 billion into the economy. So what we are pushing against NSFAS is to treat us as if we don't matter, that we have no voice, and that NSFAS can decide when to call us in a meeting, when to introduce things, so we must jump up and down. We are saying it stops now, and Mr. Freeman Nomvalo has our support. He's the administrator. He's got the power to do it.
Sure. Quite a mouthful there from Kagiso Mamabolo, who's the CEO of the Private Student Housing Association. Freeman, as I'm listening to him speak, the picture, of course, that is created really is on two levels. It's around how NSFAS operates and treats its service providers, its suppliers. Just of that alone, it does not paint a very good picture.
I do need to respond to some of the things he said.
Absolutely.
First, the general point to make is Mama Bulu used to work at NSFAS. Maybe the NSFAS he was part of and leading had as an intention treating stakeholders like that. I can state, and all the other stakeholders that we have in the task team. In May last year, after I joined in, and learned of how the interface between NSFAS and stakeholders had been happening, I decided that I will bring all of the stakeholders into one room to discuss issues and set up a task team that will advise on how we deal with these issues going forward. And that task team has been functioning, and Mama Bulu has been part of that task team.
Sure. Freeman, I'm going to ask you to pause it there for me. Sorry to do this to you, but I'm looking at the time. It is 10:30. I will give you an opportunity to respond to all of the issues that he's put on the table. Of course, I'll also be taking your calls to contributions to this conversation. 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes, 0614 104107. It's 10:30.
Thank you, Cathy. The news headlines on SAFM. I am Onda Lambana, and a very good morning. The Amatole district in the Eastern Cape has been declared a disaster area following thunderstorms that ravaged communities in the district from December into January. A 40-year-old man is expected to appear in the Cape Town Magistrate Courts today for his alleged involvement in the rape and murder case committed at Dunoon in Milnerton on New Year's Day. And over 1,600 learners are yet to be placed at Limpopo schools. The most affected areas are Pulukwane, Mukupane, Tsanin and Lipalale. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 18 rand 36 to the dollar, 22 rand 74 to the pound, and 19 rand 21 to the euro. Markets in Asia extended gains at the closing bell. The JC green across the board in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are currently trading higher. Gold is trading at $2,772. Platinum $951 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $78.34 a barrel.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
Life is too short for long-term grudges, but when it's the Soweto Derby, Ayamadoda, Aipeli, black and white confronts gold and black. The Buccaneers believe Yonkindao, Iparapaga, Liaphumelela, while Amakhosi still emphasize Ikhosi, Alpelo Moya. Experience Mzansi's biggest football rivalry, Orlando Pirates versus Kaizer Chiefs, on Saturday, 1 February at 2 p.m. live on SABC 1 and at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Your best year starts at Dis-Chem with unbeatable deals on health foods for the whole family. Get 2+1 cheapest free on any Nature's Choice health products and get 20% instant discount on all health teas, hot drinks, honeys and spreads from brands such as Jacobs, Little B and more. Just swipe your benefit card at the till. Shop in-store and online for the lowest prices on the widest range of health foods. Now on until 16 February. Dis-Chem Pharmacies. Better health starts here.
Hashtag SFM Talking Point.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. We're focusing on student accommodation and in particular some of the challenges that have been experienced by landlords through the NSFAS system, lack of payments, many other challenges, and how then the state of affairs is ahead of the official academic year of institutions of higher learning. Already in this conversation you would have heard from Freeman Nomvalo, who is the administrator at the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. In studio with me, Kagiso Mamabolo, who's the CEO of the Private Student Housing Association. So Kagiso has painted a picture of the challenges that they're facing with NSFAS, and really it is a perspective that raises a lot of questions, and I suppose in many ways also continues to highlight some of the administrative gaps that exist. Mr. Nomvalo, you of course were giving your response to some of the issues that Kagiso had started off with, and we were looking at the administrative aspect, and by that I'm looking solely at something like what Kagiso said, where service providers, it's the beginning of the year, they're expected to do favors for NSFAS, provide free accommodation, when on the other hand, NSFAS is seemingly not coming to the party. You don't pay on time. How you deal with the service providers, at least on his account, seems to be in a way that disregards the services that they're offering, and almost as if they must be at your beck and call, that they must be at your mercy.
Yeah, I was just going to that issue, Cathy, explaining that when I picked up first the administration, I wouldn't be talking to you today if those problems did not exist at NSFAS. So the reason I'm here is because there were those problems. And to some extent, those problems are still there in certain areas. So I was explaining the fact that he talks as if NSFAS, as of today, disrespects and disregards its stakeholders. And I'm saying Mamabulu was part of the leadership of NSFAS, and perhaps because he's got that, it comes with that history. when he makes a statement like that, he creates an impression in the public that he's got inside information of a deliberate posture within NSFAS that seeks to undermine its stakeholders. And I beg to differ, and these are the reasons I differ. In May last year, I convened a stakeholders group in Centurion where we discussed these issues of student accommodation, and based on that engagement, we set up a task team. At every point of the progress that we've been making, we've been interacting with that task team. We have agreed on the mechanisms on how the onboarding should happen. We have agreed on the mechanisms of how students move from one accommodation to the other. So on the issue of accreditation, that there must be a common tool that is used across. So there's a number of issues that we have been deliberating on in that task team that we have come to agree, and NSFAS embraces that. So coming to the issue of payments of stakeholders, we've been throughout that process. We even invited accommodation providers to deposit their claims through the email that we had made available at the time. Accommodation providers made that, and there was a lot of progress made in the payments of accommodation providers. In all of the task team meetings that I have been attending, because I do attend these meetings at certain times, accommodation providers have been coming to me and saying, we are grateful that you are now paying us. Yes, last month you paid us 2 days late. So we've been making progress even in terms of paying on time. Not perfect yet, but we've been making progress. Kagiso makes the statement that in as far as student accommodation is concerned, he has not seen the accommodation. I think therein lies the only narrow vested interest of PSHA. Because, therefore, to Kagiso, the only accommodation providers that matter are PSHA accommodation providers. The individuals who are outside of that structure do not matter. And I really don't think that's how we should deal with this issue. Coming to other aspects that Mama Bulu is raising, he knows the mandate of NSFAS. He was the one who was articulating that in the public in the past. So he knows that NSFAS mandate is about distributing or paying for student accommodation, not determining rates. So there are things that are not in the purview of NSFAS that should not be put to NSFAS. Lastly, without going through the last 2 points that I want to make is the issue of his landlords. Mainly, it's one institution, and I'm not going to name the institution because they are not here to answer for themselves. The bigger problems with PSHA, they really relate to one institution. And the issues of that institution have been a subject of discussion in the public media. But even though there are those issues, after he issued the claim on Monday that we owe his landlords for the 4 million, I asked Mr. Mamabulu that, please, the records that I have may have a different picture, and you are saying to me, you have agreed with my people in terms of how much they owe, they just have not paid, and to that extent you don't understand why. And I said to him, I accept and I understand that. Please then give me that list to me directly, and I gave him the 2 people that he can send it so that I get that. That email has just arrived. When we're starting this conversation, the email relating to that just arrived. But Mama Bulu said to me yesterday, he will give me this list by 11:30. And he has established that there's some accommodation providers that are now saying to him they were paid. Clearly they were not paid in the last 4 days. So the point is, there is a serious issue here that affects the sector in education, that affects students who come from poor families. Posturing and playing politics around their fate is not useful, is not helpful. We need to get factual information. Let's look at that information and sift through, because making generalized statements does not help anyone. Let's see who's owed, what are the circumstances, Does NSFAS have an obligation to pay for this? Is NSFAS indeed liable to pay for that? And then we pay. There's no dispute about that. The last point then I want to make is NSFAS, and I did not respond to this earlier on in the week because I needed to understand who sent a request to PSHA, requesting PSHA not to receive rent in January and so on. I don't know of any such communication. We do have more than myself at NSFAS, so should that communication be there, I would really like to see it and so on. But the issue of 10 months versus 12 months is not NSFAS asking landlords not to receive rental for any month. When NSFAS took over, it took a rental that was normally an annual rental, divided it by 10 months and dispersed it over 10 months. Not that it says you shouldn't be receiving rental for other months.
Okay.
Now,
All right.
Now the argument can be, is that a fair rental or not? That's a separate argument altogether. But we should present issues as factually as they are.
Mr. Nomvalo, you seem to be alluding to the fact that the Private Student Housing Association has ulterior motives, and perhaps you can get into why that is your position, because the assertion is that there's something nefarious going on here, that there is an agenda that they might have.
No, I'm saying he alleges that we disrespect our stakeholders. He then says there is no progress at all relating to the payment of landlords. And he bases this purely on the basis of his landlords that have not been paid. By the way, as I've said earlier, I've asked so that we can compare notes and make sure that that is paid to the extent that is a valid, legitimate claim. And as I'm saying, I only got that information when we started this interview.
Okay.
But there's an application already on Monday that says I owe 44 million. I don't know if that the number that will come today adds up to that 44 million. So you see what's happening there. And I'm saying let's rather focus on not making generalized statements. Let's make specific claims. Let's sit around the table and agree that we pay and we pay, as I have made that undertaking.
Okay, all right. All right, Mr. Nomvalo. Kagiso, I'm going to give you just a minute, because I've got quite a number of listeners that I want to bring in that include service providers who want to contribute to this conversation.
PSHA represents more than 80,000 beds. And over and above that, we do engage.
Which is what percentage of the market you would say?
I can't say on the tip of my tongue, but maybe Mr. Nomvalo could tell us. He understands the student accommodation in general. But before we issued our statement, we reached out to other associations nationwide, which we work with them. They are in the similar situation as us. So the issues I'm raising, the 44 million is just only for our members. So there could be more, and we'd like to hear from them. But I don't speak for NSFAS. I represent PSHA. Whether my knowledge of NSFAS and how it does its processes, I'm not interested there. What I'm interested here is that if my members are not happy, I'll come here to represent them, and I'll articulate the issues as they are.
Anonymous, you're in Gqeberha. I understand that you are a service provider. Please tell us, what kind of services do you provide and your contribution to this conversation?
Morning, Cathy. I am a student accommodation service provider. I have been in this industry for quite some time, for years now, right? Let me first say this. There is a proverb that when two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that suffers, okay? What's happening here basically is that it's a fight between NSFAS and the universities. Because you must remember that NSFAS is huge. I'm talking of the financial, I'm talking of the money involved here. It's very big. It's a big industry, huge. Previously, the universities, they had their off-campus student accommodation department that were running the student accommodation on behalf of the university. And the system was working. We never had issues. I never had issues. And I know most service providers never had issues. NSFAS then decides to take it over. In other words, providers are going to deal directly with NSFAS. And then what NSFAS done, they appointed some company that will administer the IT side of things for them. But I think they did not think it through, or they should have rather take their time and implement this before they just push it on. So it's a fight between the university, off-campus accommodation, and NSFAS. This is what is happening. That's basically it, really. Thank you.
And Anonymous, in terms of just the service providers, oh, he's gone, all right, because I wanted to get his perspective on what Kagiso had said earlier, the back and forth between NSFAS, the service providers, when it comes to issue of payments. Tembi, you are in Gauteng. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, Tembi.
Yes. Thanks, Cathy. I called in yesterday regarding the issue I had with student accommodation for my son. So my son is going to school at one of the universities in Cape Town. We are based in Gauteng, right? So the issue with me is the shortage of student accommodation, especially in the mainstream universities. And we find ourselves as parents looking at private accommodation, which is really extremely expensive. The quotations I got, they range around 12,000, 13,000 rand a month. I just want to understand, in terms of regulating all this, because, us as parents, it's difficult to actually afford accommodation, especially outside the universities, the private ones. And you find that the likes of NSFAS, they have a cap, right? And even if your child has NSFAS, you find that you still need to pay maybe average of 80,000 rand on top of that if you manage to get a private accommodation. So what is the government doing in terms of regulating, pricing in terms of student accommodation, and maybe any plans of increasing affordability around it? Thank you.
And you're raising such an important issue, Tembi, and especially because I'm making the assumption that your child is not receiving NSFAS funded education, right?
Yes.
So that means that you're literally having to figure it out on your own.
Yes, definitely. And they are exploiting us. The challenge that I had, for example, is they agreed. I got one accommodation that was 9,500. I paid. The following day, I sent an email to say that no, that accommodation is no longer available. It's now 15,000 rand. So you see that there is some level of exploitation because they know that they are all desperate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tembi, thanks for bringing that issue, speaking from the perspective of a mother and a parent there. One of our other listeners says, I'm an accommodation provider in Newcastle for Majuba and were owed by NSFAS. When we inquire about it, NSFAS says they gave the money to Majuba College earlier last year and we must go and get it there. Majuba denies having these monies. Now we're stuck not knowing where to go. We're going to continue with this conversation, or hopefully also get an answer for you from the administrator. Stay tuned.
Outsurance has another random fact for you. In 1998, 500 grams of sugar cost about 3 rand. Now it's about 20 rand. There's nothing sweet about how the cost of living has gone up. But even in times like these, Outsurance is committed to saving you money on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754 for a quick and easy way to save. Let's hear what Rosemary has to say about the saving on her 2019 Ford Figo.
go.
I phoned into Outsurance to get a quote. They were super efficient, super quick. I'm saving 421 Rand a month. I'll stick my neck out and tell them to phone Outsurance.
Enjoy life-saving services like Help It Out with 24/7 access to panic assistance, roadside assistance, and home assistance with just a tap on the app. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. Limits apply. T's and C's online.
Life-changing wins can happen when you play on the National Lottery. Just like the Lucky Powerball Plus winner who won over 33 million Rand on Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 100 million Rand jackpot this Friday and you could be next. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The SAFM Plain Writing Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
We continue the conversation on the talking point, looking at student accommodation. Joining me, the NSFAS Administrator, Freeman Nomvalo, and the CEO of the Private Student Housing Association, Kagiso Mamabulo. Freeman, let me give you an opportunity to respond to the questions that have been raised by our listeners. If you can start just with the issue that Tembi raised around, just... It's all good and well that this is being done for students that are on NSFAS, but it is a much broader issue around student accommodation that we're dealing with in the country.
Yes, in fact, this is part of the reason why government intervened in student accommodation, because now a relatively able person to afford these things realizes that the rates are atrocious, and it basically excludes the poorest of the poor from accessing higher education. And I'm glad Tembe raises this point, because my first interaction with PSHA, I got to understand, thankfully, and I appreciate that they shared with me a presentation of what they do, and so on, their vision, their mission, and everything. At the end of that presentation, I asked a simple question. Why is it that not a single slide has got the word affordable accommodation? Because investors have to get a return for their investment. So their primary objective is to make as much money as they can, while providing a worthwhile service to communities. We shouldn't miss that point. But it is very difficult when it has the effect, intended or unintended, of excluding the majority of the people to accessing education. So that's the issue relating to small and I do need to address the issue of the listener.
All right, I'm not sure what's happening with his line there. It looks like it has deteriorated. We'll try to get him back up. Philemon, you're the Deputy Chair of the Mpumalanga Association of Service Providers. Okay, it looks like we've also lost Philemon on the line. He also wanted to make a contribution to this conversation. Kagiso, yes, you may have difficulties, but I think what Mr. Nomvalo is raising is a good point. How much are you charging for this accommodation? Is it affordable?
Yes, it is affordable.
Well, he doesn't seem to think so.
Well, maybe he can tell us what is the cost of building student accommodation according to the norms and standards of the Department of Higher Education and Training. There's no cost. And if you look at the norms and standards, we build according to them. If you don't build according to them, you get a much, much lower rate. What we did when NSFAS introduced their cap, we accepted the rate. That's why I said the rate dropped by 20%. our accommodation rate before NSFAS came into the play were way below what university charges. And what we are saying here, Cathy, is that NSFAS can come with any rate that they want to bring. Let them tell us a rate in time. Okay. So that we can downgrade our services to the students if they are not going to be increasing the cost that they want us to pay for the students.
Okay. Philemon, you're back on the line. Good morning.
Yes, I'm back on line. Let me finish the point and I'll address the point that Kahisho is making. The point here is about affordable accommodation, by the way. So, nitpicking on some of the issues that NSFAS isn't the custodian of, and he knows we don't determine rates as NSFAS. We disperse funds. But the point with Kadeha is that issues of affordability were identified. Issues of corruption when accommodation was handled purely by institutions, not necessarily all institutions, but they were identified. They were articulated in a report that was submitted to me some years ago. So we can't present this picture as if it was all rosy. There was a lot of exploitation even at the time, and the intervention has not necessarily made the situation better by a large way, but there's a lot of lessons that have been made. And part of what the task team has done is to say, going forward, we need to come with a co-management model that is transparent so that we can overcome the corruption of the past, but at the same time make sure that there's more than just a few stakeholders that have got disproportionate power over others around the table.
Just in the interest of time, Mr. Nomvalo, please respond to the issue raised by our listener around Majuba. And it goes back to one of the broad issues where service providers are not paying over some of those monies, and NSFAS is not wanting to get involved with that.
Maybe this particular landlord, because obviously she's talking from her lived experience, I do not want to say it's untrue. So she may have not been part of the process that we did in Majuba last year. I sent a team to Majuba, as I did in other parts of the country, to sit down with landlords together with the institution, because the payment was made through the institution, so that NSFAS would show its records that for this landlord to transfer this money, but you, institution, have not transferred it across. They sat across the table, they resolved those issues last year. So this particular landlord may have not been part of that process, and to that extent, we will follow up and make sure that in Majuba that is attended to. When those incidences occur, we normally send a task team that's going to resolve those with facts on the table.
We have this conversation in 2 weeks' time. Students are going to be moving around at a much more rapid rate than they are right now. Yes. I certainly don't get a sense that they're walking into a seamless system, that things are necessarily going to be better than they were last year, Mr. Nomvalo.
Look, I cannot predict what's going to happen in 2 weeks' time. There's a lot of vested interest as well in this area, and I'm going to make one quick example. Last year, it was flighted on television that students in one institution in the Eastern Cape were sleeping in the administration offices. When I went to that institution, there was no such incident happening. So sometimes canned images will be flighted because people with vested interests who are benefiting from an inefficient system are no longer benefiting, and they can use those to disrupt the process.
Okay.
But
all right.
We have met with the stakeholders to make a plan so that we respond quicker to challenges that arise.
Kagiso, your parting shot.
Our call is, as accommodation providers, we want to know the rate before the student return so that we can assist them. We want the rate now. We cannot wait more than 2 weeks. We need to plan for the students, Cathy. If we don't know the rate, how are we supposed to service the students? We want the rate now.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like an unreasonable thing. Either way, people have to plan. How do they do it without the relevant information? Okay, so we're going to leave it there for today with this particular conversation. As you can hear, it's one of those that we'll keep an eye on as we get into the reopening of the institutions of higher learning. It's time for your latest 11 o'clock news update.
Thank you, Cathy. In the top stories, another illegal minor dies in Tsapong Hospital, and Trump's order on the citizenship of babies temporarily blocked. For SAFM News, I am Ondalambana, and a very good morning. Another illegal miner who was retrieved during a government-led operation in Stelfontein in the northwest has died in the Tsapong Hospital. This is the second mine worker to die in hospital. Northwest Health spokesperson Lucas Mutibedi says they initially admitted 33 illegal mine workers.
Overall, we have been discharging others who have been assessed and medically treated by our personnel. At least about 14 of them have so far been discharged and then handed over back to the police. Currently, we only have 17.
The Amatole district in the Eastern Cape has been declared a disaster area following thunderstorms that ravaged communities in the district from December into January. At least 59 villages were affected and extensive damage was caused to homes, roads and infrastructure. The spokesperson for the district municipality, Sisam Siwa, says the damage is estimated to amount more than 57 million rand.
In Mushwa alone, 148 families were left homeless and 83 households were also completely destroyed in other local municipalities, namely Amahlati, Mbasha and Mnquma. Basic services were also disrupted during this time. In response, ADM has been working hand in hand with humanitarian organizations like the Red Cross, Gift of the Givers, as well as Alimdad, along with government departments to provide relief.
A 40-year-old man is expected to appear in the Cape Town Magistrates Court today for his alleged involvement in a rape and murder case committed at Junun in Milnerton on New Year's Day. Police spokesperson FC Van Wyk says police responded to a complaint in Ngena Street on New Year's Day when they found the naked body of a 26-year-old woman. Van Wyk says the post-mortem report revealed that the woman was raped and strangled.
Statements were obtained, and the only person who had access to the house and who was last seen at the house before the body was discovered was the male suspect believed to be from Nyanga area. The suspect could not be traced, and according to information received, he was hiding somewhere in Grabouw area. On Tuesday, the 21st of January, members of Berrydale Police were patrolling their area when they found a suspicious-looking person walking in the street. The members stopped the male suspect and interrogated him. During the interrogation, the suspect admitted to be a wanted suspect in a Milnerton murder and rape case.
Over 1,600 learners are yet to be placed at Limpopo schools. The most affected areas are Pulukwane, Mokopane, Tzaneen and Liphalale. The Provincial Education Department says the placements will be finalized by the end of this month. Pimani Baloyi reports.
In a statement, the department says the Pietersburg circuit in Polokwane has the highest number of grade R and 8 learners that are yet to be placed. At 816, the department says applications for placement by the over 1,600 learners were only submitted this year. They say over 33,000 learners were placed at various schools during the applications and appeals processes last year. Piman Baloyi, SABC News, Polokwane.
A U.S. federal judge has temporarily blocked President Donald Trump's order to end automatic citizenship for babies born on American soil. The judge in Seattle said the order was blatantly unconstitutional and blocked the administration from implementing it for 2 weeks. The case was brought by 4 states, including Washington. Trump said his administration would appeal against the decision. Washington's Attorney General Nick Brown.
This is about people who the President of the United States was trying to deny their lawful right to be citizens. And babies are being born today, tomorrow, every day, all across this country. And so we had to act now to provide back to the status quo, back what has been the law of the land for generations, that you are an American citizen if you were born on American soil, period. Nothing that the President can do will change that.
Recapping the top story, another illegal miner who was retrieved during a government-led operation in Stilfontein in the northwest has died in the Tsapong hospital. I am on the Lambana for SFM News headlines at 11:30.
Life-changing wins can happen when you play on the National Lottery. Just like the Lucky Powerball Plus winner who won over 33 million rand on Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 100 million rand jackpot this Friday and you could be next. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Every person, no matter who you are, what music you're inclined to listen to, and what you do with your weekends. You need a weekend playlist. It's that musical mix of music that accompanies the lazy weekends, whether catching up with friends and family or just taking some time to reflect. Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 on SAFM.
The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
Is broken, our nation is lost, our nation is suffering, in need of a helping hand. We need to stand together, side by side in arms, to build our land and its broken people. Only God is the answer. So much sorrow in the people, pain and brokenness, destruction, hate and hopelessness. We need hope for our land. Heal our nation, merciful and gracious God. Heal our nation. Oh, your spirit, oh, sovereign God.
postponed for another Friday,
Yes.
and all sorts of other things. But we're grateful because, all of our guests, you're always so gracious to us because you know that it's not really always within our control. Sometimes we have to go where the events are taking us.
Yes.
So, Ade, I want to perhaps maybe just begin with a message of healing and restoration for the nation.
Yes.
Are you making music specifically for South Africans that you believe is going to speak to our psyche and heal our psyche as a nation? And where does that come from, Why are you particularly positioning your music in this way?
I believe I was very intentional about this particular album because there's two before this one, but this one specifically is for the purpose of healing through music. Because us as Africans, we're musical people, so if you want to drive a message, do it through music because it will linger more. It will stay on longer than if someone gives you a speech about healing. You'll forget the speech, but you can always go home and serenade yourself with the music, and music is timeless. So I believe this was the right time for this message because we are going through so much as a nation and as a continent at large, where we're broken. We're a broken people, and hence broken people can't build. Look at our nation is in tatters. So for me, because this is the gift that God has given me, the gift of song, of singing, of writing music, I felt I need to use this platform to send a message because there needs to be a message that musicians are taking out. And as a musician, you need to go back to what is it that I want to be known for, remembered for, and what impact is your gift doing to the nation, to the world. So it's very intentional. Healing is needed. We all need to revisit the wounds that have kept us like we're sitting in one place. We're going around in circles. We're not moving forward. So this is a cry. It's not just my duty. I'm not the only musician here. We used music at the time where we wanted liberation so much, and that music was about fighting. We would boost ourselves through that music, and that strengthened us, and that kept us together as a people. Hence, we achieved so much through the music, the marching, the dancing, the shouting, the screaming, and even our old legends or Letambuli, they were using music to speak, or Miriam Makeba, they were using music to send a message. So I feel like I've taken the baton from them, and that's what I'm doing with my music. And I'm asking other musicians to do the same. Revisit what the purpose it is that you've been given this wonderful thing called a voice, this wonderful thing of playing these grand instruments. Let's use them for a purpose, and let's drive the message of healing. That's what I'm about.
What position do you put yourself in as an artist when then you are seeing yourself as this conduit of healing and of this message of healing?
I believe I'm trailblazing something. I'm putting my neck out there. I'm still gonna do more albums that are gonna be, inspirational music, but not as power driven and purpose driven like this. The message of healing, of hope, giving the people hope that let's hope for something better. And let's rally together to say, yes, people see us as a dark continent, so much desolation, so much brokenness. Can anything beautiful come out of this place? But it can, because it has to. We can't raise children in a place like this. We can't live like this. So for me, it's a cry for my children. But I want them to experience a better place, because we're constantly crying, this is happening, and it's not good, it's all negative. But imagine if we could all just a mindset shift from there's no hope, there's nothing good, that's why bother, to let's be hopeful. We have talents, we have resources, we have everything we have. I'm using mine. Let us use our own, to build our nation and make it better. So I'm a trailblazer. I'm doing this until I see change. Through my music, I want to travel the nation. I need the music department. Arts and culture department to partner with me. This is not my thing. It's not to make me famous, but it's for the nation. This is for the nation. This is for the nation.
We're going to continue the conversation with Ade, and as you can hear, very passionate in terms of advocating for what the meaning of the music is and this message of healing for the nation. So we'll of course continue the conversation with her. I also want to take it back to her own entry into the music industry. How did she end up as an artist? Because that's part of what this show is all about. We get to introduce you to some of our artists and get to hear what their early years have been like and what has inspired them in their journeys in this particular career. We're going to take a quick break. I'm back with Ade. I'm back with more of her music and the conversation.
Specsavers now looks after your hearing as well as your vision with Specsavers Audiology. With 60 stores and counting, we are South Africa's largest audiology group. For a limited time only, buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. You heard right. Buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. Find your nearest store at specsavers.co.za. Specsavers Audiology. Test your hearing and join the conversation. T's and C's apply.
The Natal Rich Boys want to demonstrate their wealth with a win to reach the last 16. But the Buccaneers say they will illustrate why they are the reigning champions. This is the Nedbank Cup round of 32. Richards Bay FC battles it out with Orlando Pirates FC this Sunday, 26 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Your best year starts at Dis-Chem with unbeatable deals for the whole family. Save R29.98 when you buy 2 packs of Softy 18 toilet rolls for just R200. Get 20% off all Sunlab products. Save R79.98 when you buy 2 Sanex shower gels or kids foam baths for only R100. Shop in-store and online for the lowest prices on the widest range of products. Now on until 16 February. Dis-Chem Pharmacies. Better health starts here.
Celebrating our music heritage right here on the Friday Wind Down.
Ade, the artist, bringing a message of healing, hope, and restoring the nation through her latest offering. So, Ade, you started off in the music industry at quite a young age.
Yes.
I want you to tell me a bit about that journey.
Sorry. Well, I was in the Eastern Cape. I was at school there, and I hadn't really participated in much musical things. I was more in the dancing scene. I used to do ballet and a little bit of acting and stuff. But the music, I literally someone discovered me while I was singing in the back of this big choir at church. And I don't know, I guess I was very passionate singing more than everyone. So the choir leader comes to me during the break and is like, can you sing for me? Like, sing, because we were backing someone. There was an event that we were preparing for. So there was a leader who was singing the lead part, and I was just in the back of the choir minding my own business. So I don't know how it happened. She heard me. I mean, there was over 20 voices. And I knew all the lead parts, like to the T. So she was like, no.
Somebody was already getting ready for lead, hey?
Yes. So she's like, no ways. You are actually going to sing the song, and ended up giving me 2 songs to sing. And then she had to tell the lady, I'm so sorry, please, we want her to sing the song.
Oh my gosh.
And this was this was like maybe 2 days before the actual performance.
Yeah.
So that was sad for her.
How old were you at the time?
I was 15. I mean,
okay.
But it was like I was the youngest person there because ngabantu basecaweni badala obasisi nababhuti, you don't know, I didn't want to be seen. But I guess my voice made a way for me. It opened that door, and it was the first time my family ever heard me sing, for one. So they were like shocked.
So they didn't know you could sing either?
No. They knew I was creative in all the other ways.
Yeah?
I cook, I do a whole lot of things. So the singing part, I mean, they were crying. It was my uncle's wedding. They were in tears. They were shocked. Like, my mother stood in front of me while I'm singing in tears. Like, what is going on? How is this even possible?
Okay. What song did you sing?
It was Tremaine Hawkins' song, Silver and Gold. I'll never forget that song.
You'll need to sing. You'll need to sing a little bit of it for us.
Silver and gold. I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. No fame, no fortune, no riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. So it has a very, she goes in, she's vocally very gymnastics voice. I was shocked that my voice can even go that far, can sing high, can do the lows, can do the creative spinnings.
Yeah.
I was shocked at myself. You know, when you open a box and it's like a present and like,
would you say
it was literally like that?
Would you say that was the moment that then would unlock
definitely
what has
I knew I wanted to study music. I knew that's what I wanted to do. In every school, I was the choir leader. We're singing during break. I have a team of singers. I'm teaching them soprano. You sing this, first soprano, second soprano, tenor, alto. I was like, it was something I wanted to do. I knew that I had found my purpose. So I've never stopped since. I do that now with my kids, where I'd say first soprano, second soprano in my bedroom.
You've got your own little choir at home.
Yes, because now I ended up discovering them, that they are also singers.
Quite talented,
you know.
in music.
So it's a loud house, I can tell you that much.
Well, you know, and it's always these stories, right, that give us insights into how our lives are as South Africans, and something that can look so small at the beginning, but that can unravel and open so much doors of possibility and opportunity going into the future. We're going to continue the conversation with our Friday wind down guest, Ade, and then of course we'll bring you more of her music. For now, it's 11:30. Time for the latest news headlines.
Thank you, Cathy. In the news headlines, the Western Cape Education Department has strongly condemned the murder of a school principal in Kraaifontein. The 54-year-old man was shot in his car outside the Kupumleni Primary School in Bloemkombos yesterday. Another illegal miner who was retrieved during a government-led operation in Stelfontein in the northwest has died in the Tsapong hospital. And Hamas says it will today provide Israel with the names of the next 4 hostages to be released as part of the Gaza ceasefire agreement. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Life-changing wins can happen when you play on the National Lottery. Just like the Lucky Powerball Plus winner who won over 33 million rand on Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 100 million rand jackpot this Friday and you could be next. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The SAFM Plain Writing Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. Our Friday Wind Down guest, Ade, the artist, and she, of course, bringing a message of hope, healing, and restoration to the nation. Ade, in your journeys, right, so when you were younger and you were imagining yourself in this industry, there is what you think it's going to be, and then there's the reality of what it is. And it's a question that I love to ask our artists, because I think there's so much to be learned out of the experiences of individuals. How different would you say that journey has been for you? Whether for the better or for the worse. But what, and also I guess, what we as people on the outside think it is or think it should be versus the reality of being an artist.
Well, I learned quickly that artists don't have much support in the industry. Hence, they die paupers, they don't own anything in their name. They leave their families in desolation, basically, and yet they were the voice for our nation throughout the world. Oh, Brenda Ab, it breaks my heart that we are still in that state, that nothing has been done to really back up musicians, because we shine the spotlight on our nation through our music. Jongo Tyler, she has made everyone's eyes on Africa because of her music, and she comes from here. And we don't understand that kind of talent needs to be nurtured, needs to be supported financially and otherwise, so that it can reach further, and to make sure that this artist is getting what they've put in. They've put in their heart and soul. So why are you not able to afford your life? And yet you're servicing everyone, And so I had to quickly know that I have to be an independent artist. I can't give away my gift to a record company that is taking 99% of the earnings for the work that I've done. I'm writing the songs, I'm singing the songs, I'm performing, I'm going out and performing every night. I'm not sleeping, I'm traveling on the road. There could be accidents. We don't have medical aid as musicians. How are we supposed to continue this beautiful thing that I wanted to be this thing, I wanted to do this lovely thing, but it comes at such a heavy price. So I'm not signed to any record label, because I needed to make it to make it on my own, so that musicians know that you can, because there's no point in them fattening their pockets and you have nothing.
We do see more and more artists taking the position that
Yes,
that you
they
take
are.
of
They are. Shame.
going
They are.
independent.
You have to.
and doing it alone.
But
What-
then that
what
needs
does that come
financial
with? I was
back.
going to say,
Yes,
what does
it
that
needs
come with?
financial because you have to pay for the studio. So you have to pay for producers. You have to pay for mastering your record. You have to have a PR plan to market your stuff, like what I'm doing. This is our phase 1 for this album. I need financial backing to do that because you can't just I can't pay people to say I want to be on radio, so put me at the top, because some record companies do that in order to for their artists to be put at the top of the list, whereas us independent artists, we don't have that that kind of financial support. Hence, people need to be able to, individuals, companies, the arts and culture, there has to be a way that we are able to support artists. There has to be a way.
Does it feel like you're constantly pushing against the grain? That
100%,
everything that you have to do is just
100%.
you have to fight and fight and fight and fight.
Just because now it's a social media age. So I'm not even a social media person. I have to find someone to do things on social media. I have to be a TikToker. I have to dance so that people like me, and I have to have likes. I have followers so that companies can then say, "Oh, okay, she's got so many millions of followers. We can give her some money to do this product," and then you use that money to pay for your albums, to pay for your shows, because as a new artist, you're not on anyone's list for festivals yet, because this product hasn't come out in that big announcement kind of, because that's what I want with this album, because it has to be played everywhere. It has to be like anthem for South Africans, this album is that.
How do you deal with the pressure then of seeing what is out there, what is trending, what people are liking and following and sharing, versus what you want to produce, and producing it in its most authentic form, and not feeling that, but in order for me to get a like, I must include 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
And you go ahead and you produce it without, and then you of course then are also having to deal with, is it going to go as far as I wanted it to go?
Well, I love the social media age, that it's so forgiving, and it's so accommodating that you can introduce anything and there will be people that are for you. It's the getting out there that is the task, the start of the thing. It's just getting yourself there, because the people, once they understand and they back up your message and they believe in it, those people, those social media, those kids, they are crazy. They will go, they're up in arms for the people they follow. And so I'm not worried about changing anything, because only record companies change your message, because you have to be popular, you have to sing what people want. But I can do whatever I want.
Why are you so passionate about Africa? Where does this passion come from?
Well, I have the privilege of having a mother that is passionate about Africa. So that is her work. That's what she does. She goes all over the country, the world, with this message of hope and healing. But then I remember when I was studying in Jamaica, she called me saying, I'm starting a foundation called Vuka Africa Foundation, and I believe this kind of campaign that I'm leading, which was then called Africa Rise and Lead, it needs a song, and I believe you will be able to write the song. And at that time, she had to send me a fax to Jamaica just to give me the vision of what she's talking about. That's all I had. And I remember when I finished studying that last week, I forgot about the whole thing. Then I knew, oh my gosh, my mom gave me this task. And the song literally just came. I had a pianist from the school. I asked him, and I was like, okay, all I have, the title is Africa Rise and Lead. And the song just, I mean, God is just so so beautiful about giving musicians beautiful songs. Literally, they come from him. I don't take. I can't pat myself in the back. I'm not that smart. He created me and gave me this gift, and so the songs must come from him, and they have been. So for me, that was the start of it. And then reading what she was saying, that she traveled for the first time to Africa. I mean, this is Africa, to Nigeria, and she saw how the place was, the state of the place, and she knelt down and cried, "But God, do you have a plan for Africa? Do you?" Until God said to her, "Yes, I do. I want to restore Africa, and it will be restored." So she always held on to that, and it definitely, I caught on that fever, and I've been running with that fever since, and I believe we have to plow back in order to get the results we want. I can't just sit and fold my hands and believe that the government alone can do this in changing and building. No, we have to come together as a people,
So do you think that it was almost inevitable that part of your messaging in your music would be what it is? I mean, you mentioned your mother being the founder of VUCA Africa Foundation.
Yes.
It's also it's the foundation that that was a catalyst for the shifting of electoral law in this country, right? Because they took that matter to the Constitutional Court. That's why we had the amendment to the electoral law in the country. So it also speaks to just the awareness, the politicization of the environment that you are in more generally.
Yes.
Do you think that is also part of what influences the way that you make music?
No, 1,000%. Because anything that has to do with the nation starts with the people. And Umama was trying to rally and give people information that, do you know how many rights we have? Do you know how much power we have? And so she ran that race, and we won that. I mean, that toss, that's a tick in the books. But then the music is to sort of push that message in such a beautiful way, and also showcasing the talent that we have in this nation to the world, but with a message. The sound that has to come out of Africa has to be one of hope, because people are looking at us, but what are we about? What are we going to do? Everything is not okay, but imagine people hearing this coming out of this place, the same place that they're looking down on. So I'm so interested for people for a change, to listen and to hear and to receive this message and want to be part of it. We want to be a healed people. We want to be a people of hope, because that's all we have. And that's all we want, really, to be honest. But let's do it. Let's be actively be involved in participating in the rebuilding of our nation. I'm doing it with my voice.
I'm bringing more of the music. In fact, on that note, let's cue up Africa.
Yes, that's the song. You'll hear it now. The first song that I wrote.
Celebrating our music heritage right here on the Friday Wind Down.
Africa. money, where my Africa? Papa money, where my Africa? Papa money, where my Africa? Papa money, where my Africa?
I feel great, I feel nice.
Kashem, what's the core? We're quelling on the highest, the summer level. What are we? Uzalo, what's the core? No Maswazi cause being a mama. Pefeni wants to kreta and get a kaya. It's the core on SABC Plus. Don't miss Uzalo at 8:30 weekdays only on SABC 1. Zanzi for sure.
Abafana Best 10 are pumped up to get to the round of 16, but the Chili Boys believe they will display a happy walk after the final whistle. This is the Nedbank Cup round of 32. Golden Arrows FC versus Chipa United FC on Saturday, 25 January at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hi, I'm Zycard. Catch me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Spotlight as we bring you blow-by-blow sporting action, news. That's Spotlight every Saturday. You don't want to miss it.
Celebrating our music heritage right here on the Friday Wind Down.
Morning, Cathy. Good day, Cathy. Great thing. Mamela ke seswa andimazi but there is a sitting a song. She took me back, is taking me back as line. If you know what I mean, when there was assembly esikolweni, it brought me like kanene umuntu is coming back from to assembles esikolweni, doing prayers before you get into classes. Thank you for the Leslie sitting a song. It was in case that song. And the husband is totally telling me, but it's a healing song for the nation. It's a nation's healing song. If you get what I mean. Thank you.
I just get the hello. I do your guess. I feel you. I hear you, my sister. I hear you. I'm Peter and George. Yeah, I'll support you from the side, sister. I know how difficult it is. You just see our artists, 1 or 2, 3, 4 songs. I'm a piano excluded there, and then gospel excluded there. 1, 2, 3 songs, and then they fell off the map because of the funding. There's no money. Look at how beautiful artists we had. We had Jamali, we had Karen, we had all those. So I hope after our awakening, South Africa is really starting to awake, and yeah, I hope everybody support and be there for you and listen to your music. I've just downloaded the song, one song from you, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thanks. Have a look at that.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. And I think that's what it's about, right? Being able to let people know of the work that you're doing, and all of us as South Africans supporting the work of artists as much as possible. Yeah.
Also, you know that there are people. The people want this. Because we need to pump money behind artists. I need money to take this message forward. It needs money. To go to 9 provinces with this kind of message, I need money. I need money for my 16-piece band. I have a 16-piece band. I need, there's accommodation, there's hiring venues, there's marketing, and so on. So all of that needs money. As an independent artist, you need people to pump money in and who believe in the vision, that won't change it because they're putting money in, and let the work go out. Right now it's sitting literally. This is my first interview of 2025 and the first of many. I don't want to sleep. I don't want to do anything but do this work on a daily basis. The message is important, and I'm so encouraged by my brother here saying, just hearing this, because you don't hear it a lot. So for him to really resonate with it, and for it to have touched him, and thank you so much for saying you supporting from that side, George, and that's just so uplifting and encouraging that, I just need to hold on, keep on holding on, because I've been doing this, it's almost 21 years, it is 21 years, of doing this thing by myself. And there's only so far you can go, hence you need the support of people that have these resources that can allow you to really just run. I want to run,
Ade, we're approaching the end of our hour together.
That's not fair. It's been so wonderful, so lovely.
Let me give you a chance maybe to tell our listeners, is there anything that you want to talk about, whether it's upcoming work, upcoming shows, that you want to have a chance to promote before we wrap up the conversation? And we're going to wrap up with the rivers flowing, by the way, and maybe we're going to talk a little bit about that towards the end.
Yes. You can follow me on my social media platforms, which is Ada the Artist 18 on all the platforms. I'm also trying to do this TikTok thing. I'm there, guys. I'm going to ask my kids to help me with these videos. But it's Ada the Artist 18 on all your platforms. Download my music. It's on every music platform, whatever you use to download. Heal the Nations Volume 2 album is out. For you guys to enjoy, download, follow me on Instagram. That's how we're trying to get the money. So I need the followers. So the song that's I'm gonna close with, it's called "The River of Healing is Flowing," and that song literally came. I was performing on stage. We were doing one of the tours around the nation in 2018, I think. Yes. So as I'm performing, I was in Eastland, King Williamstown. So, I'm in the middle of a song, but then I had this vision of water trickling in as we were driving. We were driving through the township of King Williamstown. So I was just aware of the township and its state, not very good. And there was water gushing, the roads. We know the problem with the roads, and it was not a nice picture. So as I'm performing, the picture of me driving down the streets of King Williamstown came, and there was water trickling down the streets and going into, if you can just picture a stream going down, small stream, going into each and every home, getting into the homes and starting to come up from your ankle to your knee, to your waist, until families were consumed by this river. And I questioned, what is this? And God said, this is the river of healing. This is how I want to heal my people, through this river of healing. The healing lies with me, And as I'm singing the song, I just heard the river of healing is flowing. That was the beginning of the song, hence the song. Now I got home back to Joburg, and I remembered that, and I started writing, and the words just came bubbling, and I was being healed while I'm writing the song, because healing had to start with me, because myself, I've raising 5 kids by myself, Healing was necessary for me to come to this point, to be able to send the message of healing. It had to come from a place of pain, Sure. Hence, God has been using me to bring these songs of healing, of hope, and the restoration of our nation. So, Ada the Artist, come guys, follow me. Enjoy.
Celebrating our music heritage right here on the Friday Wind Down.
the throne room into my living room, yes, into the streets of my heart, to the pathways and everything in between. The river is flowing from the throne room into my living room, to the streets of my heart, to the pathways and everything in between. This river is flowing from the throne. 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 Oh, the river is flowing from the throne into my living room, into the streets of my heart, to the pathways and everything in between. Oh, the river is
It's 12 o'clock on Friday, the 24th of January, 2025. A very warm welcome to Update at Noon here on SFM. Leading the conversation, I'm Sakina Kamwendo. Coming up in the next hour,
serious flaws that open the door for expropriation without compensation of private property, and that would be against Section 25 of the Constitution, making such action unconstitutional.
the signing of the expropriation bill into law continues to generate mixed reactions, and
as municipalities were faced by that challenge of not having enough resources.
We are experiencing water challenges on a daily basis, and our communities are not happy.
Mayors of municipalities within the Ngakamudiri Mulema district in the Northwest Province are calling for more support. Coming up in sport,
it's Nedbank Cup weekend and Novak Djokovic calls it quits in Australia.
John Herricker with those details in the second half of this show. Well, please let us know your thoughts. You can share your views with us on 41391. That's our SMS line number. You can also write to us via X, our handle at SABC News_radio, or you can send us a WhatsApp voice note on 082-692-3909. Well, these are more stories coming up on this Friday edition of Update at Noon. First, though, the latest news with Ondelambana.
Thank you, Sakina. In the top stories, Western Cape Education Department condemns the murder of a school principal and another illegal miner dies in Tsapong Hospital. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana and a very good day. The Western Cape Education Department has strongly condemned the murder of a school principal in Kraaifontein. The 54-year-old man was shot in his car outside the Ekupumleni Primary School in Blukombos yesterday. Department spokesperson Brona Hamond says counselling services have been given to affected parties.
This is a terrible tragedy for the school and the community, and we offer our deepest condolences to the family, friends and the school community. Our district teams are on the ground providing counselling support, and we trust that SAPS will leave no stone unturned in locating and apprehending the perpetrators.
Another illegal miner who was retrieved during a government-led operation in Stilfontein in Northwest has died in the Tsapong Hospital. This is the second mine worker to die in hospital. Northwest Health spokesperson Lucas Mutebedi says they initially admitted 33 illegal mine workers.
Overall, we have been discharging others who have been assessed and medically treated by our personnel. At least about 14 of them have so far been discharged and then handed over back to the police. Currently, we only have 17.
The family of a 21-year-old woman who fell to her death after being admitted at Kimberley's Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe Hospital is seeking answers from the Provincial Department of Health. Gyutsapile Buthelezi fell from the 5th floor of the hospital on Saturday. The young mother was transferred to the Kimberley Hospital after experiencing postpartum complications a few days after giving birth in Postmasburg. Aunt of the deceased, Esther Buthelezi, says the family is saddened by her passing.
People came here at around past 1 on Saturday. They came and broke the news that my child died in hospital. What hurts me more is that I did not know she was sick. She left in 2024. She left home and said she was going to study in Kathu.
Some students at the University of Venda at Thohoyandou in Limpopo say they are facing numerous challenges with their registration. Registration commenced after the announcement of the 2024 matric results. They say that some students have been blocked out of the registration system. One of the students, Ezra Mloche, says he does not have a bursary and the university wants a registration fee.
There are a lot of students who are affected by the things of registration, art pay. And when it's affecting them, it's causing problems at home because they don't even have money. They created this other thing, it's called AOD. The process of it is very expensive. We are very poor. We don't have money to pay for those things. We told them to opt for what the SRC of last year did, of us paying 500 per month. Now they're saying we must pay 1,000 per month. We are very much poor. We can't afford to do those things.
Hamas says it will today provide Israel with the names of the next 4 hostages to be released as part of the Gaza ceasefire agreement. In an exchange due on Saturday, Israel is expected to free about 180 Palestinian female prisoners. The BBC's Yolande Nell reports.
In the second exchange of the ceasefire deal, which came into force last Sunday, Hamas is expected to release 4 Israeli women, both soldiers and civilians. Hamas is also due to provide Israel with long-sought information about who is alive from the list of 30 remaining hostages due to be freed in the first 6-week stage of the deal. However, it's not clear if that will include the names or just the number of living hostages. After the next hostage and prisoner exchange is complete, Israeli troops are expected to further withdraw from Gaza.
Recapping the top story, the Western Cape Education Department has strongly condemned the murder of a school principal in Kraaifontein. The 54-year-old man was shot in his car outside the Ekupumleni Primary School in Bloemfontein yesterday. I am Ondelambana for SFM News. Headlines at 12:30.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo.
Thanks so much, Ondela. Good afternoon, everybody. At 7 minutes after 12, and a quick look at our diary. But before that, just scouring the wires, and this storm Awen has made landfall in the UK, and some 715,000 homes and businesses across Ireland without electricity as a result. And you look at some of those pictures, boy, it really is scary. So Storm Awen, keeping an eye on that. People have been asked not to travel, and the wind gusts are unimaginable. So red weather warning is currently in force in parts of Scotland as well. Just looking at that one and keeping an eye on it, but it seems as though it is quite destructive. And of course, coming back home, some of the stories that we will be bringing you up to speed on here. The Mohlahlana local municipality has taken legal action to withdraw the appointments of municipal workers who were allegedly appointed illegally. Now, the sheriff of the court has delivered just over 200 summonses to employees to appear in the Polokwane High Court in March. And this after the Special Investigating Unit has apparently recommended to the municipality to declare the appointments of about 400 workers illegal. So we'll follow up on that story. And then President Cyril Ramaphosa has signed the expropriation bill. It is now an Act, and it repeals the Pre-Democratic Expropriation Act of 1975, and this now sets out how organs of state may expropriate land in the public interest and for varied reasons. Now, there's been mixed reaction to this, and earlier today we heard from AfriForum on their views. They are some of the parties who have said that they will take this to court, as have the Democratic Alliance, I think, and Freedom Front Plus. But of course, on the other side, there are those who are in support. We'll speak to Good, and then there's the EFF and ATM. We'll speak to ATM about their views as well, saying that they are also opposed to it. So you have various parties opposed to this act, but for various reasons, and we'll try and make all of those clear to you why, who is opposed or supporting the Expropriation Act. And Transnet is said to be on a strong charge to work with the private sector to get its operations on the move. Keeping an eye on that one, and if we are ready to go, we'll bring you more on exactly what is to unfold there. Also, just taking a preview, a look at the ANC Lekgotla ahead of the Cabinet Lekgotla, and this, of course, part of setting the tone for the State of the Nation address, which will take place on the 6th of February. The Judicial Conduct Tribunal probing sexual harassment allegations against top judge, the Eastern Cape Judge President Selby Mbenenge. That continues, and it's been quite interesting. We'll bring you a few more court stories as well, and we're also keeping an eye on the ANC Youth League, and the president there has called on young people whom he describes as from progressive movements to join a march to the Minerals Council of South Africa to protest against retrenchments in the mining sector. We have our reporter Katlego Legodi watching that one for us, so we'll see if we can catch up with him to find out how that is proceeding. So all of that to come, and of course it's a Friday. We'll bring you an update from the coalface.
Compliments for 2025, Mangani. Call me Mabel Goals, because I'm coming for it all this year. Body, relationship, and financial goals. With my Just Invest account, financially I'm cruising. 2 more to go. You know any available Prince Charming voice, man?
I've got you, Mabel. Soringa. Mara, you can also be like Mabel and earn up to 8.25% in interest to start the year right. Open yours via the Money app today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Promo rates apply. Go to nedbank.co.za for more information.
These are the weekend shows on SAFM. Music of Africa with Sheila Ndikumana. The Jet Set Breakfast with Michelle Constant. Seasons with Khomotso KG Mweketsi. The Soundtrack of Your Life with Ernest Pillay. Weekend Sundowner Classics with Kutlwano Masote. Spotlight with Zai Khan. The Weekend with John Gerika. Rhythm of Africa with Sheila Ndikumana. This is SAFM. Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
And welcome back. It's 12 minutes after 12. A legal storm is brewing as lobby group AfriForum threatens to take legal action against Government of National Unity following President Cyril Ramaphosa's signing of the controversial expropriation bill into law. Now, the law replaces the Apartheid-era Expropriation Act of 1975 and comes after a lengthy 5-year process of public consultation and parliamentary deliberations. It sets out the conditions under which the state may expropriate land in the public interest. Now, earlier, my colleague Elvis Preslin spoke to AfriForum's head of public relations, Ernst van Zyl, who says that the bill contains serious flaws that pave the way for expropriation without compensation. Let's have a listen.
Well, AfriForum's response is that the bill that the president should not have signed the bill into law, seeing as there are still very serious flaws within the bill itself, serious flaws that open the door for expropriation without compensation of private property, and that would be against Section 25 of the Constitution, making such action unconstitutional. And therefore, AfriForum has made it clear to the President and the Government of National Unity that if they were to start targeting private property for expropriation without compensation, AfriForum will be the first organization to take them to court, because we have a very solid case there.
But the presidency says the expropriation may not be exercised unless the expropriating authority has, without success, attempted to reach an agreement with the owner of the property for the purpose of acquisition. So what is your response to that assertion?
Well, if you look at the content of the expropriation bill, you'll see that there are many terms and terminology used in there that pretty much make it very easy for the government to then justify in their rhetorical way expropriating a piece of property without compensation. Doesn't mean it would be right. For example, just the use of the idea of public interest. The expropriation bill enables the expropriation of any property, not just farmland, if it is within the public interest. Now, that could be a myriad of things. The government could use any type of reasoning there to say that it is in the public interest.
And that, of course, was our colleague Elvis Presland speaking to AfriForum's head of public relations, Ernst van Zyl. And speaking now to us, we're joined on the line by Good Party Secretary General Brett Heron to get their reaction on this matter. Brett, thanks for your time. Welcome to Update at Noon.
Hi, Asakina. Thanks very much.
So let's just start with your reaction as the Good Party to this act now, and also how is this going to be in the public interest for the good of all South Africans?
Well, let me say, we welcome the implementation of the Act. It's been a long time coming. The 1975 Expropriation Act was clearly not aligned with the constitutional imperative of redress in this particular land reform. And so the Act now aligns with the Constitution and the Constitutional Court's judgments on property rights, and including the right